Elbows, or bends, are fittings that are used to change the direction of the piping system. They're described by the amount of direction in degrees or the angle of change from the original path. They come pre-manufactured as 22.5, 45 degree, 60 degree, or 90 degree elbows. For welded systems, it's also not uncommon to fabricate other angles in the field, as you can see by this fabricated fitting here. But we're going to focus on manufactured elbows in this video. For drainage elbows, they're also known as bends. The amount of direction change is referred to by fractions of a full circle. For example, a 90-degree elbow is 1/4 of 360 degrees. Therefore, it's called a quarter bend. Whereas a 60-degree would be a 1/6 bend, a 45, a 1/8 bend, and a 22.5 is a 1/16 bend. Be careful with the 1/6 bend. You can see they're stamped, and I've highlighted them here. These elbows are painted. But the difference between a 1/6 bend and a 1/8 bend, when you're just holding them in your hand, is not as easily recognized. As well, the 6 or 8 that's painted on the fittings may not be easy to read out in the field, especially if it's covered in dirt or rust. Until you end up getting pieces of pipe connected, then that extra 15 degrees becomes quite obvious. There's also an elbow that changes 180 degrees. This is called a return bend for obvious reasons. Another important consideration besides the angle of the elbow is the run radius, or in other words, how sharp a turn does the fitting make. This has a significant impact on the flow. For example, if the fluid is a drainage fitting relying on gravity, too sharp a change in direction could cause enough restriction to create blockages. Or for pressure fittings, depending on the flow velocity within the piping system, we have two different radii here, the change in direction can cause turbulent flow downstream, which can cause excessive cavitation, erosion, and extra pressure loss. As you can see when we look at these two copper fittings, the drainage fitting has a much less abrupt change in direction than does the pressure fitting. Here's another very long radius drainage elbow here, called a long sweep elbow. You're going to see, as we continue your studies on drainage flow, when the flow goes from horizontal to vertical, it doesn't require as gradual of a sweep because it's like the liquid flowing off the edge of a waterfall compared to when it transitions from vertical to horizontal. In that case, we have to have a much longer sweeping bend. For butt weld manufactured elbows, the manufacturers use the term short radius and long radius to describe the different radii of these elbows. A long radius is the standard, and the radius is exactly 1.5 times the nominal pipe size, whereas a short radius elbow is 1 times the nominal pipe size. When you look at this diagram, you can see the radius of a 90-degree elbow is easy to check, as it equals the throw, or also known as the face to center dimension. I'll show you on these two fittings. When I place my tape on a 2-inch long radius elbow, you can see the center to face dimension is 3 inches. Whereas if it was a 2-inch short radius butt weld elbow, like this one, the face to center dimension is only 1 nominal pipe size diameter, or 2 inch. So, for describing these fittings for the purpose of ordering, we need to say the size, the material type, what kind of connections it has, the rating, and the degree of the bend or the elbow. Here are some examples. This is a 2-inch cast iron quarter bend. Here I have a 3-inch carbon steel long radius butt weld 90-degree elbow. Here I have a 2-inch cast iron threaded class 125 90-degree elbow. Whereas this is a 2-inch cast iron threaded class 125 45-degree elbow. Here I have a 2-inch PVC Schedule 40 90-degree elbow. And lastly, I have a 1-inch stainless steel socket weld class 150 90-degree elbow. Don't worry, we're going to spend plenty of time practicing and looking at the many different types of connections available. But I want you to appreciate that unless you're very specific when ordering a material, you can't be certain you're going to get the right fitting. Now, sometimes the connection size reduces. These are called reducing elbows. And of course, you would have to mention both sizes when ordering these. So, you always mention the large size first. This one would be a 3/4 by 1/2 inch copper sweat 90-degree elbow. Another specialty type of fitting happens when the elbow has two different types of connections on it. This one has a threaded connection on one end and a copper sweat connection on the other end. These are adapter elbows. You have to specify that in your description, or again, you're not going to get the right fitting. So for this one, I would have to say a 3/4 inch FIP, standing for female iron pipe, by 1/2 inch sweat, brass being the material of the fitting, 90-degree elbow. Finally, I have a couple more specialty elbows here. These serve a special purpose in that besides just a change in direction or possibly reducing size or adapting to different types of connections like this one does, these ones are called wingback elbows. And you can see they have lugs on the back of them for attaching to the backing in the walls. This gives the pipes coming out from the wall support. In our next video, we're going to look at fittings used to provide branches, excess points like cleanouts, or auxiliary connections.